as the sun dipped below the horizon of Los Angeles, casting a warm golden hue over the bustling streets, there stood the Cecil Hotel, an imposing structure that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless souls. Established in 1924, the hotel was initially intended to be a lavish accommodation for business travelers. However, as the years went by, it transformed into a refuge for the marginalized, those who slipped through the cracks of society. The Cecil became home to the lost, the forgotten, and those seeking solace in a city that often overlooked them. The hotel's architecture reflected both glamour and decay, with its once grand facade now cloaked in an unsettling stillness. Towering above the busy streets, it boasted intricate wrought iron balconies and a lavish lobby adorned with vintage chandeliers that swayed ominously in the draft. Yet, despite its beauty, a sense of foreboding lingered in the air. Visitors often spoke of a chill that settled in the pit of their stomachs upon entering, as though the walls themselves were whispering forgotten secrets. Among the hotel's early residents was a woman named Mary, a war widow who lost everything she held dear. She often wandered the narrow hallways, her shadow flickering against the cracked walls, searching for a place to belong. One night, a fellow resident, a struggling artist named Vincent, struck up a conversation with her. "Do you believe in ghosts?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mary chuckled softly, a hint of melancholy in her eyes. "In this place? You'd be foolish not to. I've heard stories, lovers lost, dreams shattered. They say the walls are alive with their sighs." Vincent nodded, captivated not just by her words, but by the weight of history that hung around them. "It's as if the spirits never left. They linger here, trapped in their own tales of despair." As they shared stories, the room around them seemed to echo their sentiments, amplifying the haunting atmosphere of the Cecil. The hotel had seen an influx of similar souls over the years, veterans, drifters, and those seeking shelter from the storms of life. Each had their own story, each a thread woven into the fabric of the hotel's eerie reputation. Beyond the residents, the architectural features of the Cecil contributed to its dark allure. The narrow staircases spiraled down like a descent into madness, while the dimly lit corridors were often the backdrop for hushed conversations and whispered fears. The elevator, a relic of a bygone era, creaked ominously as it ascended, carrying both guests and their secrets to the upper floors. As we delve deeper into the hotel's history, it becomes evident that the Cecil is not just a building. It is a living entity, steeped in the tragedies and triumphs of those who sought refuge within its walls. The tales of its past are a tapestry of darkness, waiting to be unraveled. As the shadows deepened, the Cecil Hotel transformed into a realm of mystery and unease. The flickering lights and echoing footsteps seemed to carry the weight of untold stories, each room a vessel for the echoes of those who had come before. The whispers of the past lingered in the air, palpable and haunting, as if the hotel itself was a sentient being, longing to share its dark secrets with anyone brave enough to listen. It was during the late night hours that the hotel's true nature revealed itself. Former staff members recounted chilling tales of unexplained occurrences that had become part of the hotel's lore. One former housekeeper, Elena, recalled her first night on the job, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I was cleaning room 213 when I heard soft sobbing coming from inside," she said, her eyes wide with the memory. "I knocked, but there was no answer. I opened the door, and the room was empty, just the sound of someone crying. I never went back in there alone again." Elena's story was not an isolated incident. Many guests shared similar experiences, often recounting the feeling of being watched or the sensation of cold air brushing against their skin, even in the warmest of nights. A young traveler named Jake, who had stayed at the Cecil during a road trip, recalled his own eerie encounter. "I woke up one night to find the window wide open," he said, his voice steady, but eyes betraying a hint of fear. "I swear I heard someone whispering my name. It was like a soft breeze, but there was no one there. I checked the hallway, and it was completely silent." The hotel's reputation grew, entwined with countless legends and ghostly tales. As the years passed, stories of suicides and tragic events became common currency among those who dared to venture into the Cecil's depths. There was the tale of a man who leapt from the rooftop, his body discovered only days later. The rumors suggested he had been driven to despair by the very walls that had sheltered him. In the lobby, a shiver ran through the air as longtime residents exchanged knowing glances. They were familiar with the hotel's stories, passed down like heirlooms. One elderly guest, Mrs. Thompson, recounted the legend of a young woman who had vanished from the hotel decades ago, her disappearance never solved. "They say she walks the halls at night," Mrs. Thompson whispered, leaning closer. "You can feel her sadness. It fills the air. They say if you listen closely, you can hear her calling out for help." As night descended over the Cecil, the stories flowed like wine, weaving a tapestry of fear and fascination. The hotel's dark history had become its identity, shaping both the experiences of its guests and the narratives that surrounded it. Each whisper added to the growing legend, solidifying the belief that within these walls, the past was never truly gone. It lingered, waiting for the next willing ear to listen. As the stories of lost souls and spooky encounters continued to swirl around the Cecil Hotel, the building's history took a darker turn. It was not just a place of spectral sightings. It became a shelter for some of society's most notorious figures. Among these shadowy residents were Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker, and Jack Unterweger, a convicted murderer who found a brief haven within the hotel's walls. Their presence transformed the Cecil from merely a haunted hotel into a nexus of crime and fear. Richard Ramirez checked into the Cecil in 1984, a time when fear gripped Los Angeles due to his brutal attacks on unsuspecting victims. The hotel, known for its affordable rates, offered him an inconspicuous place to lay low. One former resident, a man named Luis, recalled the chilling aura that surrounded Ramirez during his stay. He was always dressed in black, almost blending into the shadows. Luis said, his voice nearly a whisper. You could feel something was off about him, like he carried a darkness that was palpable. I remember the night he left. There was a strange energy in the air, like the world had shifted. The connection between the hotel and Ramirez fueled local legends, placing the Cecil Hotel on the maps of true crime enthusiasts. But Ramirez was not the only criminal to call the Cecil home. Jack Unterweger, who claimed to be a journalist, also stayed in the hotel while he was on a killing spree in 1991. He was known for his charm and ability to manipulate those around him, which allowed him to slip into the fabric of the hotel unnoticed. Unterweger had a way of making you feel special, recalled the former desk clerk Maria. He would tell stories, and you'd almost forget he was capable of such horror. But there was always something unsettling about him, an undercurrent of danger that made you wary. These notorious figures thrived in an environment where anonymity was easily found, and the hotel's transient nature allowed them to blend in with the city's forgotten population. The Cecil, with its history of tragedy and despair, became a magnet for those looking to escape the law or their own demons. The influence of such residents on public perception was profound. As the media began to connect the dots between these criminals and the hotel, the Cecil's reputation shifted dramatically. What was once viewed as a refuge for the marginalized soon became synonymous with crime and chaos. In the aftermath of these revelations, conversations about the hotel turned darker. Guests began to share theories about the connection between the building's atmosphere and the actions of its residents. One evening, a group of tourists gathered in the lobby, their voices low as they discussed the hotel's infamous past. "Do you think the hotel attracts these kinds of people?" one young woman asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Or they were drawn to it because of its history," replied an older man, adjusting his glasses. "It's like the walls absorb the darkness around them." As the discussion unfolded, it was clear that the Cecil Hotel was not just a backdrop for ghost stories. It was a living testament to the intersection of horror and humanity. The very essence of the hotel seemed to pulse with the energy of those who had passed through its doors, both living and dead. Each connection made the Cecil increasingly intriguing, yet terrifying, as it stood as a monument to the darker side of human nature. As the reputation of the Cecil Hotel continued to fester in the public consciousness, the 1960s marked a significant turning point. Increasing media coverage of its dark history transformed the hotel from a mere curiosity into a macabre destination for thrill-seeking tourists. The allure of the unknown drew people from all walks of life, eager to experience the haunting tales that surrounded its walls. This era ignited the phenomenon known as dark tourism, where visitors sought to confront the shadows of the past. Local news broadcasts and sensational articles painted vivid pictures of the hotel's grim past, creating an almost cinematic allure. These stories resonated with a culture fascinated by true crime and the supernatural. A former tourist, Helen, reminisced about her visit during this time. "I remember the thrill of stepping through those doors, almost feeling like I was part of something forbidden," she said, her eyes lighting up with the memory. "We had heard so many stories about the ghosts, the murders. It felt like we were walking into a living horror movie." The media played a crucial role in shaping the hotel's notoriety. Each headline seemed to deepen the mystery, drawing in those who craved a glimpse into the darker side of human existence. News segments highlighted not only the hotel's infamous residents, but also the bizarre occurrences that happened within its walls. "It was like a siren's call," said Marco, a documentary filmmaker who visited the hotel in the late 60s. "We were all captivated by the stories. I remember setting up my camera and feeling the weight of history surround me. It was eerie, yet exhilarating. As tourists flocked to the Cecil, they brought their own narratives, intertwining with the hotel's storied past. Some sought to pay homage to the lost souls they had read about, while others came simply for the thrill. A group of us decided to hold a seance in one of the rooms," recalled Sarah, a visitor from that era. "We thought we could connect with the spirits that lingered. I can't say if it worked, but the atmosphere felt electric. It was as if the hotel was alive, breathing in the stories of the people who had come before us." The Cecil became a paradox, a place where fear and fascination coexisted. While some tourists left feeling exhilarated by their experience, others reported feelings of dread that clung to them long after their visit. "I felt like I was being watched the entire time," shared David, another guest. "It was unsettling, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the hotel had a soul of its own. It's as if it was holding on to the ghosts of those who once roamed its halls." The rise of dark tourism at the Cecil Hotel was not without its controversies. Critics questioned the morality of exploiting tragedy for entertainment. Yet, as the demand for these experiences grew, so did the hotel's infamy. The Cecil was no longer just a haunted hotel. It became a cultural landmark steeped in the complexities of human nature, where curiosity met the darker facets of existence. As conversations about the hotel shifted from mere ghost stories to discussions of its role in society, one thing became clear. The Cecil Hotel was not just a relic of the past. It was a living narrative that reflected the ongoing human fascination with darkness. In this way, the hotel served not only as a backdrop for tales of horror, but also as a mirror reflecting our own fears and desires. As the 20th century transitioned into the 21st, the Cecil Hotel found itself at the epicenter of a digital renaissance. The Internet, a vast and uncharted territory for many, began to unveil the hotel's dark history to a new generation. Online forums and social media platforms became a breeding ground for discussions about its haunting tales, drawing in curious minds eager to delve deeper into its enigma. The allure of the Cecil was magnified by the creation of viral content that swept through the digital landscape. Influential bloggers began chronicling their own visits, sharing spine-chilling anecdotes and eerie photographs that captivated their audiences. One such post, titled 10 Reasons Why the Cecil Hotel Will Haunt Your Dreams, gained traction, accumulating thousands of shares and comments. When I read that blog, I felt compelled to investigate, confessed Alex, a self-proclaimed paranormal enthusiast. It was like uncovering a hidden treasure of ghostly stories. Furthermore, the rise of true crime podcasts played a pivotal role in reviving interest in the hotel, with hosts dissecting the lives of infamous residents like Richard Ramirez and the tragic story of Elisa Lam. The Cecil was thrust back into the public consciousness. Podcasts brought a new layer of engagement, noted Jenna, a podcast producer who covered the hotel in her series. Listeners were not just passive consumers. They felt like they were part of a community trying to solve a mystery. The discussion surrounding the Cecil Hotel flourished in these online spaces, with fans sharing theories, personal experiences, and even debunking myths. A heated thread on a popular forum had users debating the authenticity of ghost sightings. I swear I saw something move in the corner of room 1402, posted one user, while another countered, it's all just a figment of our imagination, driven by the stories we tell ourselves. The subtext of these conversations revealed a collective yearning to understand the hotel's dark past and, perhaps, confront their own fears. Amid the digital frenzy, documentaries about the Cecil surfaced on streaming platforms, further cementing its status as a cultural phenomenon. One notable documentary, titled Cecil Hotel, A Journey into Darkness, showcased interviews with historians, former guests, and paranormal investigators, each adding layers to the hotel's complex narrative. The documentary was like a deep dive into the abyss, said Michael, a viewer who was both fascinated and horrified. I found myself questioning what really happened there and why it continues to captivate us. Social media, with its immediacy and reach, became a powerful tool for spreading the hotel's lore. Hashtags like hashtag Cecil Hotel and hashtag Dark Tourism trended, drawing in a multitude of followers who were both curious and skeptical. It's fascinating how the internet can breathe new life into an old story, remarked Lila, a historian specializing in urban legends. The Cecil Hotel is no longer just a place. It has become a symbol of our collective fascination with the macabre. As the online conversation swirled around the Cecil Hotel, it was evident that the hotel transcended its physical presence. It had transformed into a digital specter, haunting the minds of those who sought to understand the complexities of life, death, and everything in between. The internet, in all its chaotic glory, had amplified the hotel's notoriety, ensuring that the tales of the Cecil would echo through the ages, forever entwined with the fabric of our digital culture. On February 19th, 2013, the world was introduced to a name that would become forever linked to the chilling legacy of the Cecil Hotel, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student visiting Los Angeles. Lam was last seen on the hotel surveillance footage, a haunting clip that would be dissected and analyzed across the internet. As the footage played, Lam appeared erratic and distressed, wandering through the hotel's hallways, peering around corners as if she were being pursued by an unseen force. This eerie footage ignited a frenzy of speculation and theories, each more sinister than the last. Why was she acting like that? Pondered Sarah, a true crime enthusiast who became engrossed in the case. It was like she was trapped in a nightmare. The public's fascination with Lam's disappearance was immediate and overwhelming, spurred on by the hotel's dark history and the mystery surrounding her behavior. Online forums buzzed with theories, ranging from mental health struggles to paranormal encounters. People wanted answers, and they were willing to explore every avenue. Observed Tanya, a psychologist who had followed the case closely. Elisa's story struck a chord because it highlighted issues of mental health that are often ignored. As the investigation unfolded, details emerged about Lam's struggles with mental health. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, she had been open about her experiences, sharing her journey on her blog. "It's a delicate balance," said Dr. Harris, a mental health expert. Elisa's behavior in the footage could be interpreted as a manifestation of her condition. It's tragic that her story became sensationalized rather than understood. This nuanced perspective was often lost in the chaotic swirl of public discourse, where sensationalism overshadowed the human element of her plight. Days turned into weeks, and as authorities continued their search, the media's obsession grew. The hotel, already notorious, found itself at the center of a renewed storm. The headlines screamed Lam's name, and with each new article, the Cecil Hotel's reputation deepened in infamy. "It's as if the hotel became a character in this tragedy," remarked David, a journalist who reported on the case. The ghosts of it past were revived through Elisa's story, intertwining their fates. Then, on February 19th, 2013, nearly 3 weeks after her disappearance, the search for Lam took a grim turn. A maintenance worker discovered her lifeless body in one of the rooftop water tanks. The news sent shockwaves through the community and reignited the mystery surrounding her death. "How did she even get up there?" questioned Maria, a local who had visited the hotel frequently. "It's a place filled with secrets, and this just added to its legend." The circumstances surrounding Lam's death were shrouded in ambiguity. Investigators ruled it an accidental drowning, but the questions lingered. Had she succumbed to her mental health struggles, or was there something more sinister at play? Theories proliferated, feeding the dark narrative, noted Tim, a podcaster who produced a series on the case. It became less about finding closure and more about feeding the public's obsession with the macabre. As discussions about Elisa Lam continued, they transcended the boundaries of the Cecil Hotel, reflecting broader societal issues regarding mental health awareness and the stigma surrounding it. Elisa's story is a reminder that behind every tragedy is a person with a life, dreams, and struggles, advised Tanya. We must remember her humanity amidst the horror. In the weeks and months following her tragic death, Elisa Lam became a symbol of the dark fascination with the Cecil Hotel. Her story reignited interest not only in the hotel, but in the conversations about mental health that society often shies away from. The haunting legacy of the Cecil Hotel grew ever darker, entwined with the memory of a young woman who sought adventure and, ultimately, became part of a chilling narrative that would echo through the halls of history. As the investigation into Elisa Lam's disappearance unfolded, the haunting security footage from the Cecil Hotel became a focal point for both investigators and the public alike. The grainy black and white images showed Elisa moving erratically, her hands gesturing as if she were trying to communicate with someone or something unseen. The unsettling nature of the footage only intensified the speculation surrounding her case, spawning debates that ranged from the psychological to the supernatural. "What do you think was going through her mind?" asked Sarah, her brow furrowed as she replayed the footage for the umpteenth time. "It's like she was trying to escape from something. Or someone," replied Tanya, leaning closer to the screen. "The way she peeks around corners, it's almost as if she's aware of a threat, but we can't see it." Dr. Harris, the mental health expert, also weighed in during an interview about the footage. Elisa's behavior could be indicative of a manic episode. People with bipolar disorder often experience symptoms that can manifest as anxiety or paranoia, especially in unfamiliar environments, he explained. Yet, the way the footage is presented can distort public perception, framing her as a character in a horror story rather than a vulnerable individual struggling with her own demons. The media played a significant role in shaping this narrative, presenting the footage as a sensational spectacle rather than a glimpse into a troubled mind. David, the journalist, observed, "The headlines were relentless. They painted a picture of Elisa as a ghostly figure, almost mythical in her tragic fate. This portrayal ignited the imagination of true crime enthusiasts and paranormal believers alike. The Cecil Hotel has this dark history, and Elisa's footage was a catalyst," Tim added during a podcast episode. "It's as if her last moments were consumed by the very essence of the hotel, a place where darkness thrives." As the theories proliferated, some leaned heavily into the paranormal realm. Could it be that the hotel's dark past had somehow influenced her behavior, speculated Maria, who had spent countless nights at the Cecil. With all the energy stored there, maybe she was tapping into something beyond our understanding. Interviews with paranormal experts offered varying perspectives. Locations with a history of tragedy often carry residual energy, asserted a well-known paranormal investigator. Elisa may have been sensitive to that energy, leading to her erratic behavior. However, other experts urge caution in attributing her actions to supernatural causes. While it's easy to get swept up in the allure of the paranormal, we must prioritize understanding her mental health, emphasized Dr. Simmons, a psychologist specializing in trauma. The complexities of her condition are often overshadowed by the sensationalism that surrounds her story. As discussions evolved, it became evident that the footage was more than just a chilling visual. It was a reflection of society's struggle to comprehend mental illness and the narratives we create around tragedy. Elisa's story is a profound reminder of the need for compassion, not just curiosity, Tanya concluded. We have to remember that behind the mystery is a young woman who deserved understanding and support. In the wake of her disappearance, the haunting security footage of Elisa Lam continued to resonate, serving as a chilling reminder of the intersection between mental health, media portrayal, and the enduring legacy of the Cecil Hotel. As the sun set over Los Angeles, casting a warm glow on the newly rebranded stay on Main, the once infamous Cecil Hotel now presented itself as a curious blend of modernity and history. The renovations had transformed the hotel's exterior, with a fresh coat of paint and stylish signage that attempted to mask the shadows of its past. Yet, whispers of what lay beneath still lingered in the air, enticing both locals and tourists alike. "Can you believe this place used to be the Cecil?" asked Jenna, a young woman visiting from out of town, as she stepped into the lobby. Her wide eyes scanned the polished marble floors and contemporary decor. It looks so different now. Yeah, it's hard to imagine all the dark history that happened here, replied Mark, her friend, who had read extensively about the hotel before their trip. But that's part of the allure, isn't it? The stories, the legends, they add character. The hotel's new management had invested heavily in revitalizing the space, aiming to attract a different clientele, one that was less focused on the hauntings and more on hospitality. Our goal is to create a welcoming environment, said Lisa, the hotel manager, during a recent interview. We want visitors to experience the charm of Los Angeles without being haunted by its past. Nevertheless, the darker tales of the Cecil Hotel continued to seep into conversations. I heard that some people still report strange happenings. Mark continued, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. Like lights flickering and doors creaking when there's no wind. It's almost like the hotel is trying to hold onto its legacy. Lisa shrugged, a hint of a smile on her lips. Every historic place has its stories. We embrace them, but we're focusing on creating new memories for our guests. It's about finding a balance. As guests checked in, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement and a touch of nostalgia. The hotel had become a backdrop for urban explorers and social media influencers eager to capture the juxtaposition of the new and the old. I can't wait to post about this on my Instagram, Jenna said, snapping photos of the chic lobby. It's like a haunted house, but with a trendy twist. Meanwhile, Mark contemplated the ongoing fascination with the hotel's legacy. It's fascinating, really. Even with the renovations, people are still drawn here because of what happened. It's almost like a magnet for curiosity. Indeed, the Cecil's past had woven itself into the fabric of urban legend culture. Podcasts and documentaries continued to draw attention, ensuring that the hotel remained a subject of intrigue. Whether it's the stories of its former residents or the mysteries surrounding Elisa Lam, the Cecil will always evoke a sense of wonder and dread, Mark mused. As evening descended, the hotel buzzed with guests enjoying drinks at the newly opened bar. Laughter mingled with the clinking of glasses, creating an ambience of joy, yet the past lingered just beneath the surface. Do you think the ghosts are still here? Jenna asked playfully as she raised her glass. Maybe, Mark replied, a grin spreading across his face. But now they might just be watching over the new guests, hoping they have a good time instead. In this new era, the stay on Main sought to redefine its narrative, shedding the cloak of darkness while still acknowledging the stories that had shaped its identity. As the night unfolded, the hotel stood as a testament to resilience, inviting both the curious and the skeptical to explore its halls, now filled with laughter, light, and the echoes of a past that would never truly fade away.